Hey y'all, Gavin here. I haven't posted in a while. I haven't played in a while. I actually quit after YCS Columbus, but I came back. I told myself I was going to learn a deck from scratch. I showed up to a locals. After not reading any of my cards, I wanted to make sure that I used that tournament to learn how to play the game again, and we ended up winning with Cool Tune. The deck was really fun. There were a lot of things I didn't quite understand, but now since I'm like running through a lot of the combos, I'm now understanding everything. And yeah, let me show you the deck I took and won with. Now, I will say, I didn't win with this deck because this deck was super easy. I won with this deck because there was a lot of agency this deck created. And yeah, I'll show you the list. Triple Coltoon Rico, triple Q, triple Mix, triple Rotary, and one of Clip. I will say, I remember back in the day, I was like, oh yeah, Clip has to be a 3 of. After playing this deck, I can now see why Clip is a 1 of. This card doesn't really come up unless you're playing into an opponent's board, or you make your board and this is a disruption piece. So I wouldn't really count this card as a starter. This isn't really a starter either. These are really the only 9 starters you have. Mix isn't really a starter unless you have another card in hand, because the level doesn't really work out with anything, because Mix can't really add Clip to go into Maker. So there's going to be someone in the comments that will be like, oh, Mix totally is a starter, it does this. Like, yeah, like Mix allows you to do plays. But like, if you don't have anything really by itself, Mix doesn't really do anything. What makes this deck kind of broken is the fact that even if you imperm these, you can still synchro with cards in your hand. If you didn't know that, there you go. Rotary is also one of the craziest cards I've ever seen printed. I can just look at my opponent's hand and always make a board surrounding what it is. So the agency this deck has is actually fantastic. If you know what you're doing, or if you've played Yu-Gi-Oh before, you have a lot of card game knowledge, you can always make a board surrounding what your opponent has and always control their top deck. I can see that being annoying, but seeing how card design is going in the future now, this is something we might have to get used to in the future. And learning how to play around what your opponent has is very good card game knowledge to have. Rico is very good just for being able to add a level 1 and being able to pop spell traps. Mix being able to pop monsters is also fantastic. But Q and Rotary being able to put your opponent under a lock where you always know what they have is fantastic. And Q being able to summon any tuner, so you can always have access to any hand trap you need off of Mix and Remix, is fantastic. So yeah, I wouldn't really change up any of these numbers. Might make Mix a 2 of or Rico a 2 of. One of them I kind of want to cut, but having maximum access to all of them, especially on my first locals back, felt very good. Next is the hand trap suite. Coming back, I wanted to have a deck that had infinite non-engine. So we have triple Ash, triple Bell, double Veiler, one Ogre. The reason why you main one Ogre is because you always have access to it with Q. So if you ever have access to summon Q, you always have access to Ghost Ogre. So you don't have to max out on this card. Next is something I have seen a couple people do, but this is actually something I agree with the more I play the deck, is triple Imperm and triple Dominus Purge. Now, I don't want to play worse hand traps solely for the fact that it is a monster. So Imperm being just a hand trap that can always hit something is always very fantastic. Same with Purge. Now, Purge does not stop everything in the deck. So there's a lot of times that when you activate Purge, you could actually still like use a lot of the continuous effects of your monsters in the extra deck. And half the time, if you just have a bunch of hand traps and one Purge, you can just treat Purge like a regular trap card, set it, now you're not locked out of anything. The goal is to just stop your opponent. And if you can stop them from making a fantastic or big board, it's really good. And you can always combo off one card in this deck anyway. So since you're always one card comboing, all of these just lead to infinite disruption, so your opponent can always do what they want to do. So yeah, very good lineup. I didn't want to max out on Veiler, but just because it's a level, I might max out on it in the future. And then Imperm and Purge were fantastic. Next, we're going to go into my next non-engine card, which is triple Fallen into Virtuous. I did not have Harmonias. I think that's fine just for like me going to locals and me trying to figure out the deck. And this card's still fantastic. There's no reason not to run Fallen into Virtuous, especially since that one deck is coming out, the Rolad deck, where Fallen into Virtuous can just hit a lot of the targets in that deck. Same as Ogre. So targeted disruption is still very, very good, especially with the fact that this can just keep recycling your resources. Of course, it conflicts with Purge a little bit, but the idea of Purge is so that if you go first, you don't immediately lose, and then having a card just is interaction. Very, very good. So I don't think these interact with each other in a negative way as much as you could think they could. And then for the other engine cards, Triple Cool Tune Synchro. They really printed this card. This is probably one of the best cards I've ever played in any deck. I'm not really going to elaborate on that. It's just a Rhoda that also can help you dodge targeted disruption and synchro with it. Come on. Double Duelist Genesis. I wanted this so I could have specifically 5 copies of Cool Tune Synchro and 3 copies of Synchro Overtake. So we're always seeing an extender in every hand. When I was initially playtesting against this deck, the way how this deck was annoying was that it always had options into more combo pieces. And I think Double Duelist Genesis gets you to where you need to be. Of course, you have to play for this card to be live, but if you're ever able to hand trap your opponent, this card's live. Or if you normal summon a card and then they impermanent, this card's now live. JJ is one of the craziest cards I've ever read in any archetype. Just an additional normal summon and tributes any tuner to special summon out a cool tune from the deck. Fantastic. And then Double Pod Desires. I don't think you need to play 3. There's not really space in this deck to play 3 unless I'm cutting down to 14 hand traps. 14 hand traps is a pretty good number because there's not objectively any difference between 14 and 15 mathematically. However, 2 Pod Desires I think is still fine. If you see it, you're drawing into your side cards post side, so you always want to keep this in. It's a fantastic going second card because it lets you see more of your going second blowouts. And yeah, I don't really have anything else to say there. The reason we're not main decking Fua is solely for the fact that Fua is not a tuner, and also you want every single one of your hand traps to be live. And there's a lot of decks in the format that just don't care about Fua or Prole, so there's no reason to game 1 go into the match with a card you don't need. 40 cards exactly in main. Next, let's go into the extra deck. Because I'm not playing Harmonia, I'm not really playing as many bricks in here, so every card in this extra deck actually was live and came up. Double Maker allows you to do your level 7 lines, is a fantastic starter from the extra deck, and allows you to play around Fua, Droll, everything like that. Just ending on this card and being able to have any way to synchro the opponent's turn. Fantastic card. Double RS, just being able to cycle through multiple of this is fantastic. Even though it's a dark under Purge, it still has a continuous effect. You just become a beat stick. So this card is also fantastically good. It's a hot red. I didn't know that going in. I thought it was only a monster effect negation. It turns out it's a negation against any card. Again, why did they print this? And you can use this to negate and then use your Zaylin to negate another card. So yeah, Zaylin is another fantastic card. They really just printed Baron too. Because I had the space, I played a second remix. This allowed me, while I'm still on training wheels with the deck, to be able to go into remix, and if they stop this one, I can go into another remix on the crackback. This deck just has infinite follow-up, and this just allowed me to play through it and play a little greedier lines. Double KT Loudness War. This card would come up mostly on the opponent's turn, or if I had to play around Droll or anything, I can just go into this and just have like disruptions going into a board. It allows me to have a lot of break in lines where like this is now 3,300 attack with JJ, and I can use it to break a board. Very, very good card, just being able to copy any of the graveyard effects, so I'm always popping a monster or bouncing a card. Crackle. This card is dog shit, but you play it specifically because decks like Yummy and Fiendsmith still exist. In the future, I don't even know if I would want to play this card, but since there's still like combo piles, this card exists, so you need to play it. I will stand to this card as dog shit. One back-to-back. I can see back-to-back coming up as a floodgate in the mirror in a bunch of other matchups where the level matters, specifically against Yummy. These 2 cards seem like they're fantastic against Yummy, RS and back-to-back. However, what came up mostly about this card is just that it lets me kill through people, and a lot of people are on breakers, so as soon as I break through all their board and I go into back-to-back and make any other like tuner, they just die. I still play Wind Pegasus Adignister. This card just comes up sometimes. I was also playing the Malong just as a card to make. It comes up, even though it's not a tuner. But yeah, card's not bad. I had the space for it, why not? 1 Dragon that Devours and 1 Albion. Low key, this could probably just be 2 Albion, but just the lines where you can go into this and then this. It happens, it comes up, it's fine. Just having these live in the extra deck, still really good. 1 Typhon. I heard Jib talking about Typhon, and I'm like, you know what? You were talking this card up. Why not go into it? Card's fantastic, especially since I'm playing like 15 hand traps. So I always have access to this card, and it's still a continuous effect to blank everything 3K. So even under, what's that card? Purge, this card's fantastic. Wasn't able to come up, but I do love me Typhon from when I played, what is it, the Odeon deck. So decided to throw it in. I can see it coming up in the future in testing. I will keep it in. Right now, if I were to add in the Harmonia, I would probably like, I don't know, cut these and then probably like a Crackle or a Remix. But I still need to get more play testing in on the deck. But I will say the extra deck felt very, very clean. Next is a sideboard. The sideboard felt very thrown together. I just threw in a bunch of cards that people told me were good. Double Droll, this card is fantastic. Triple Fua, this was specifically for going second. I don't think this card is needed in the main board. Double Overtuning, I just wanted another extender for when I was going first. Never came up, but it felt like this card was still very, very good as a going first side. Just so like if I'm infinitely hand trapped, I have another extender. You wouldn't want this in your main board specifically for going second. I don't think this card's that good. 1 Harpies, 1 Lightning Storm. These were fine. There were a lot of times when I was breaking a board, I just didn't even use them just because my engine was enough to break through any board. And it didn't feel like any deck right now was putting up anything where I just needed to do this. It was just smarter for me to just go in with engine and then hold the duster, or just like playing into a board without the Lightning Storm, which felt very weird, but it mattered. Triple Spark. This is for going second. I just wanted a card that like immediately was a another hand trap like Purge, so that when I played through everything, I can just go like, okay, end phase Spark, bounce. Doesn't really matter if you're turning off anything. And then solely, let me speak more about this theory, by the way. The reason why this theory works, in my opinion, is solely for the fact if you're going second and you can't break the board anyway, you're not playing. So if you just use infinite hand traps and you still have a starter in a hand trap, it's fine because you can still play through a board and still set something up and still have the accessibility to win. Just because this card like interacts and messes up with a bunch of stuff in your deck doesn't mean it's necessarily bad. It just means that you are now giving yourself a chance to win when you didn't actually have it to begin with. So like a card like this is like a necessary evil in my opinion, and it worked out. This card was very good. Because I do not have the Solemn Accusations, I just played Double Warning and a Judgment. This was fine. This felt fantastic. A lot of the time it felt like my board put up enough interruptions where like I didn't need these. But like, especially when I was against Mitsu, there was a Mitsu opponent where I was just able to banish all of their ritual spells from their deck because of Kewl, and like just keep bottoming and everything. And they're like, oh, well, I would have won if I had this. Like, well, I had a warning. I'm not going to show them I had a warning, but I had a warning. So yeah, this card, again, doesn't feel needed, but just having a instant win button going first feels very, very good. And yeah, that is the deck. Cool Tune felt very, very good to learn. My buddy was telling me that I should probably learn the Roll-Ad deck just because if you've watched the channel, I'm not a really big like hand trap deck enjoyer. I'm always playing like decks that have infinite engine, but I feel like the amount of agency this deck gives you while you're playing into an opponent means that even when you're still learning, if you have some card game knowledge, or can just like play through some interactions, this deck makes the difference in that. So yeah, I would highly recommend learning Cool Tune if you haven't already. It felt good to come back to Yu-Gi-Oh! After 2 months while I'm moving and everything. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys have any more suggestions on how to play the deck, just let me know in the comment section down below. If you guys have any other techs and theory you guys want to throw my way, please do. I'm trying to relearn this game again and go to as many regionals and stuff as I can in the future, just to still do well in the game. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.